My name is Nan. I'm currently managing the ACA Melbourne, Australia for the events execution. First of all, a great welcoming for everyone to join this event tonight. Before we start, there's just some house rules we wanted to walk you through. As I said, feel free to introduce yourself. Our alumni events are all about empowering each other for personal growth and connecting people together for professional development. And please mute yourself while other speakers are speaking. But you're more than welcome to turn on the video and start asking questions later on during the Q&A session, etc. So a little bit of information about ACA. We're a nonprofit organization established back in 2017 with the past ambassador from Australia to China. They're all our past patrons, including the existing ACA's patron, His Excellency Mr. Graham Fletcher, and he's currently based in Beijing at the moment. And in the past 13 years, we're very fortunate to have developed a network of over 30,000 alumni within Australia and the Greater China. I've been also very grateful to be supported by the Australian government and 30 plus Australian universities, and also have engaged with alumni experts, etc. And we have quite large of base from both countries. For example, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Jinan, Xiamen, etc. And here in Australia, we're quite new. We actually just started growing our base here since 2019. In the past 2 years, we've been able to develop our networks to Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, LA, Perth, and more to Darwin, etc. And things worth to share that we'll be hosting our annual Alumni Awards ceremony across all the cities as well in November each year. So that's our flagship event, which we'll mention a bit later at the end of this event. Moving on, there are several services and support we have provided to the alumni. As I mentioned, the most flagship event will be the Alumni Awards, 澳中校友奖. So the aim is to celebrate alumni's achievement, and we have offered several categories. Unfortunately, so far, the nominations process has been closed, but you're more than welcome to nominate yourself next year. Other than that, we also provide mentorship programs and job opportunities internally for our members, as well as regular events, etc. And here is a snapshot of the past Let's Grab a Coffee series, just like this one we organized last year virtually within different topics such as mental health and support for international students, alumni, startup events, just like this one. And additionally, we also organized some interesting projects to challenge our students, such as video competition and a social media ambassador project, which has broadened our social media network reach as well. Without further ado, let us get into the topic about the event tonight. So the topic we'll be touching on is startup entrepreneurship and VC. I'm sure the participant tonight might be wondering about, the definition of entrepreneurship and what does it take actually to be a startup founder. And you might also wonder about the VC perspective, how to successfully get grant, etc. And I'm sure the experts tonight will be able to give you some insights on that. And the format will be consisted of 45 minutes of 3 speaking sessions and a Q&A sessions as well. And now, without further ado, I'm very honored to introduce the first speaker of the event tonight, Cissy Ma. So she's the Managing Director at the Grow and Sell Your Biz. She's also the founding activator and impact investor at CEO Australia. Previously, she has also been engaged as the merger acquisition chair for the boardroom and the past chair of the CPA Queensland Corporate Committee, and also a member of Queensland Divisional Council. Of course, she has also been engaged with great social initiatives, such as the founder of APAC Women's Cycle, which has been helped a lot of great young women to engage within this area. So I'm sure you'll learn a lot from her experience. Without further ado, I'll pass on to Cissy, and feel free to share your screen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nan. Really appreciate the invite. And good evening, everyone from around Australia. I don't know if you have anyone from China or anywhere else. If it's all Australian, that's fine as well. But hello, everyone. And as traditional in meetings in Australia, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we are gathered wherever you are, and past, present, and emergent. So. Yes, I have just I think 3 or 4 slides I can share. I have, yep. So I can share screen. That's good. Okay, so yep. So this is the screen that I would like to share. And sorry, it's a bit slow. Okay, so I would do present. Okay, present. Sorry. Okay. Oh, this is odd. It's still not presenting. Well, anyway, okay, we got it. Back to the first page. So, as you can see, these are just a few photos of what I've done in the last few years. Presenting to CPA as I'm part of the CPA Australia. Presenting to some business owners about how to buy and sell businesses and what is the best way to achieve funding for venture and for businesses. And then, interviewing Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, meeting with Dr. Phil. I don't know if you know about Dr. Phil. He's a very esteemed TV series, the TV personnel, and a psychologist. And he's got a talk show that's been going on for more than 25 years. Mel Gibson, without, we don't have to talk about that. Everyone knows who Mel Gibson is. Yeah, so, okay, so I'm just going to give you some photos here. You can see what is, oh, sorry, it's wrong. Okay, so putting on my timer. I have, I think, less than 15 minutes left now. So, I was an international student back in 1991. So I came to Australia in 1991. Before that, I was studying in Acaa University in Tianjin. And then I went to CQU for a couple of years. Then I went to University of Queensland and studied Master of Financial Management, or Bachelor of Commerce Honors and Master of Financial Management. Then I started working. So the second bit is my work experience. But while I was working, I also completed my CPA membership or CPA study. And also later in my career, when I was ready to take on directorship, I actually studied in the Australian Institute of Company Directors and became a graduate. That you had to actually do quite a lot of things to become a graduate. So I'm able to sit on a lot of the boards, etc. So in terms of the work career, oh, sorry, stop. That's not right. Yeah. Anyway, so in terms of work, I've basically worked for about 20 odd years, mostly in corporates. So started as in the corporate finance as Queensland Treasury Corporation, which is actually the debt funder for Queensland government agencies. I think they have about 98% of all Queensland government's debt. So quite a lot of debt. Then I got poached to work for Queensland Rail, which is, I guess when I started working there, they had about 25,000 people working there. So it's quite a significant entity, a government-owned corporation. Then back in 2010, the government decided that they want to list part of the company, the commercial side. And so I was involved in the IPO of Horizon, which listed at $5 billion on the stock exchange, which was actually the largest IPO at that time. And now I think there are, I'm not sure, maybe over $10 billion worth now. Then I started, I worked there for about 14 years with QR and Horizon, and then started working the largest Chinese accounting firm, which is Shine Wang. They pretty much poached me to become their head of mergers and acquisitions in Queensland. Then about back in 2018, I felt like when I was working for everybody else, there's basically a lot of really great ideas I wanted to work on, but I couldn't because in a big corporate or in a large organization, you have to basically listen to your boss and what they were. You can have great ideas, brilliant ideas, but if there is no support from the top, then it doesn't get done. And then I noticed that a lot of the SMEs in Australia actually doesn't get the right support in terms of when they try to grow their business, when they try to sell their businesses, or when they try to gain capital from other from external investors. Most of the time, the larger accounting firms like PwC, Deloitte, KPMG, etc., EY, they look after most of the medium to large end and the SME, and there is quite a big gap in there. So I decided to jump out and start my own business, which is called Grow and Sell Your Biz. As the name tells you, it is just helping SMEs to grow and sell their biz. And so started helping people to gain capital, to get VC funding and funding from private investors and funding from venture capital, family office, institutional investors, etc. And while I was doing that, I started a little company called Australian China Education as well. And because of my Chinese background, I always have that a soft thing in my heart that really I wanted to help Chinese students to come to Australia to study. And so there's a lot of stuff that I could do to help people in that respect. And then I realized that a lot of SMEs, when they try to grow their business, they're actually mostly in the business rather than working on the business, and they need someone who actually help them drive at the top level, so to drive their strategic directions. And that's when we started the boardroom. And the boardroom is basically a group of 5 entrepreneurs from around the world that has their own specialties. One person's really good at marketing, one's very good at sales, one is very good at turnaround and VC in the Silicon Valley, and one is very good at mindset for entrepreneurs. And myself as the M&A and I guess the also VC type, M&A fundraising chair, finance chair. So, but all through the career, I have been doing a lot of volunteering. And as you can see, there's Shio, which I will talk about a little bit later in terms of focusing on Shio as being the female, helping female founders to gain more funding. CPA, as Nan has mentioned, that I've been the CPA divisional counselor, which is basically the conduit between the members of a CPA and also the board, the CPA board, so to decide on a lot of the strategic issues. I'm also the ESG center of one of the 12 in the global ESG center of excellence in terms of what are the strategic issues and the policy issues to do with in environment, social, and governance. That's quite I guess topical at the moment, and I know that's quite topical for younger people especially as well. And for UQ, I do a lot of mentoring for UQ students. And at the same in this week, on Tuesday, I actually went to their staff one. It's a leadership camp for the UQ staff, but it was run by UQ Ventures. So they invited me to be one of their industry mentors and to help their the UQ staff to actually get an understanding of how the venture world actually works, etc. So I'm also one of the mentors for the Queensland government in the Mentoring for Growth program. River City Labs. I think River City Labs is in all the major cities as well. It's definitely one in Melbourne. This little one is in lectures. I think if you are in university, you probably know about them as well. It's entrepreneurship for young people and university students. Mentor Walks is another female, helping female entrepreneurs and employees. Business in Hills, basically female entrepreneurs. Inspiring Rebels, another female entrepreneur one. This APAC Women's Mentoring Circle is one that I actually set up with a couple of other women, and we've grown to probably over 1,000 members now. Every week there are more people joining that, and you can actually join that on either LinkedIn or on WeChat. Just connect with me. I'll send my LinkedIn details in there a bit later. Acaa. And obviously you guys, ACA, ACYPI. So these are, volunteer things that I'm helping with. So talking a bit further into the venture world. So SheEO is one that I'm really passionate about. It's basically, it is, female entrepreneurs only get 2% of the venture funding. Even last year. So we need a system change. And when I saw the SheEO model, I basically thought, no, this is brilliant. There's over 7,000 activators around the world, 30,000 communities, some activators attend the weekly sessions. I think I saw Chloe in here. She's also an activator today. We got, we've supported 107 ventures, and right now we're going through the venture funding round for this year. And by the end of the year, we'll have probably another 5 added to it for Australia as well. Currently in 5 countries: USA, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And there's actually 70 countries in pipeline. Everyone wants to come to here. So. And every single venture is actually working on the world's to-do list or the UN SDGs. So these are the community in Australia right now. These are the ventures that we funded. You might see some familiar faces in there. But anyway, if this is all I have for the, let me stop there. So that was all I have in terms of slide decks. I kind of went through it really quickly. If you have any questions, just put it in the box. I'm happy to, happy to answer any questions you have. I don't know, am I over time or not? Tell me.
About it. Thanks so much, Cissy.
Okay. I have to share a bit later when there's more questions. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Thanks so much. We can give a warm welcome and appreciation to Cissy. A round of applause virtually. Thanks so much. And honestly, I'm sure our audience is super impressed by your diverse background and expertise with different experiences. I'm sure later there will be questions about how you multitask and balance everything so well. And personally, I'm very excited to hear as well. Thanks again. And now I'm going to quickly share my screen, and we're going to move on to the second speaker. Just bear with me for a sec. And we're very honored to have Andrew from Headstone Capital. So he's currently the managing director at the VC Headstone Capital. And he's also an angel investor, qualified accountant, and a lawyer with over 13 years financial service and strategy advisory experience. And his specialization is in project financing, infrastructure, and telecommunication. Previously, he has also held several executive roles at Telstra, KPMG, RBS, and other companies as well. Without further ado, let's welcome Andrew and to hear about his experience from a VC perspective. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everybody. Thank you, Nat. Thank you, Nan, for the kind introduction. I will do a share screen as well. I guess just a bit of intro. Nan has interned with Headstone as well, and hope you enjoyed the experience. hang on, let's do a screen share then. Okay. Can you see the screen okay? Yeah. Yeah, so I'll be talking a little bit about, entrepreneurship and VC and, just give a bit of flavor on IPO. I think covering some of the topics that Nan mentioned at the start. Now this is Headstone Capital, like this is just a view of a little corner of our office. Nan's visited our new office, but unfortunately, everyone's in lockdown. We haven't been able to work in the office. Now, just a bit about Headstone Capital then. So I'll be sharing a little bit about my startup journey. So we established in 2015, so we've been around for about 5 years. I started Headstone part-time while I was working in consulting at Wally Parsons and Vizian. So we're a financial service licensed firm. Our team have combined 25 years of experience, and you can see the team later. So our business is a mixture of investments and advisory. So we do small scale venture capital investment, and on the side we do corporate advisory. So you can see here the split of our business sort of into fund management, where we've set up VC funds, unit trust funds. And under corporate advisory, we've helped quite a few technology companies raise equity capital, convertible notes, sort of hybrid financing. And we've also advised on M&As and and trying to provide IPO strategies for some of our clients. We've also set up a legal practice under our group, and some of that had been in advising on small M&A transaction and also in the fintech space around compliance and we also went through a crypto phase where there's a lot of new kind of cutting edge legal issues around kind of the new type of financing that involves technology financing. You may have heard of ICOs and token raising, but that's in the quite a few years ago. In terms of the team, Headstone, the two founders are me and Sunny. We both come from investment banking background, and I'm quite proud to put together a team to support the business and deliver a lot of our capabilities. So, like Nan introduced, I have financing background. I studied accounting and law at Melbourne University. When I first came out, I landed a graduate role in Telstra, where I went through some rotation program. That's when I got a flavor of different things, how a big company is run. So I was able to work in the accounting department, legal, marketing, product management, and just to get a flavor of how the different cogs move together in a very big company. I didn't, at that time, in graduate programs, you don't necessarily do a lot of real work. It's more of a learning, experience as well. Rotating and trying to understand what type of work you want to do, and or more importantly, work out what you don't want to do. So that that was a learning experience for me, and my career journey has been quite varied. From Telstra, I decided, I needed to pick up core skills in financial modeling. So I found the opportunity to go into KPMG in their infrastructure team. So that's, where I, was able to work on some financial modeling projects on infrastructure delivery. And from there, I managed to, find an opportunity in banking. And that was through a basketball friend. So, it's a bit random. But I think a lot of my career journey is I would say it's not totally planned. That period was a steep learning curve. Working in banking, it's quite intense, long hours, and after a few years, I decided to leave. I went into management consulting within an engineering company. So that's again get to see work in a more of an engineering culture. As compared to most of my career had been in working in finance, in the finance financial services cohort. So I could witness a bit of a difference in work culture. Like I think even if you compare financial services with engineering, like the engineering is I feel a bit more laid back. And more of a balanced environment. So that you find good and bad things in every place you work in. Okay, so we've got a few good people working for us. With accounting background, working in financial modeling and a lot of data analysis. Here's a finance operation manager and fund operations, and we've got a lawyer here who's come from Linklaters background and has worked in some M&A and fund experience. So just back on my career journey, that picture is not me, it's Bruce Lee. It's it pretty much sums up my career journey. It's a bit like water. So I'd say be like water, and absorb what is useful. And I think every anything that you get involved in, you make the most out of it. Like I've been through many different places, and none of it is a waste of time. It doesn't matter, no matter what role you're working in, or what type of job, like nothing is not important. And everything that you do is a learning opportunity. Even when you're in university and you're working as a cashier, you try to add what is uniquely yours. That's about adding value in what you do, and learning from what you're doing. So if you're a cashier, like you want to be creating value and try to for example, if you had a Shell station, if you can upsell a lot, help the business get extra revenue, that's your value add. So if you learn from anything that you do, I think it's very important. And the thing about discarding what is not useful, it's I think in your career you may work in different companies. Some are really well-run companies, good culture, and then there's also a chance that you work in a company that is not so pleasant. Maybe the culture is not so good, and it's not run very well. The leadership may not be what you want. you know, I mean, I'd say that's not a waste of time either. You learn what is not good, and you know, that's a good learning experience in itself. And you know, when you're you know, at a new place, you could apply, you know, that knowledge and you know, avoid what's not good, and or you learn how to improve, you know, fix things that are not good. So you know, I think look for opportunities wherever you go. In terms of more relevant content, I think the topic, the agenda is about VCs. So here I've summed up some of the things that may be relevant for you if you're, you know, thinking about you know, what VCs look for when they do investments. Generally, VCs invest for growth. They run a fund, and VCs need to deliver return for the investors, like lots of return, right? Because it's high risk, and we're talking about, you know, like at, you know, on a benchmark, it's, you know, expected that you at least have a three times your money invested back in a 5-year time frame or 7-year VC fund life. So in terms of scale and growth, well, I mean, you know, generally, like if you're looking for investments from VC, or from an investor in general, like you should know what the investor is looking for. It's quite important. You know, understand their investment thesis, that which includes the verticals or the types of businesses they invest in. So, for example, if you know a VC is a fintech or health tech investor, you know, if you wouldn't go to them if you're running an ed tech business or e-commerce. If you're running an e-commerce startup, you wouldn't go to a fintech or a health tech VC to ask for capital, because you know, firstly, you know, the funds, it's outside the scope of the fund, and it's probably outside of their expertise, and you know, or they're just not interested. Know what the fund's objective is. Is it pure financial return or impact investment? You know, if you're you know, running a clean tech startup, something that reduces CO2, then it's probably more important, more relevant for an impact investor. You need to think about the stage and size, check size, you know, that the investor is operating in. So if, you know, investors are very early stage, then they'll probably entertain a young startup. But if a VC fund is a later stage investor, which a lot of VCs are, then, you know, it's a bit difficult. If you're just got a bit of a vision on a piece of paper, it's hard to get funding out of them. Look at the check size that they normally do. It may just be a question to them, you know, before you engage, or there could be some, you know, research or database out there. Check size. So some VC funds invest upwards of tens of millions, or is it just, you know, a few $100,000 to $1 million? So if you're looking for 100K of 100,000 of funding, it's a bit pointless if the VC normally does 5 mil check sizes. Your project is too small for them. Then, you know, they'll look at your, you know, what you're doing, your startup is doing. Like, does it have the right product for the right market? And in terms of the, you know, what's the potential for the startup to grow? You know, the target addressable market is important. By that I mean, you know, you've got the market size that you're operating in. Within that market, what's the target that you can sell to? and is that big enough? And you need to I guess show how much of that target addressable market you can sell to. Now, is your business, is your TAM willing to spend $1 to $10 billion per annum globally, for example? Like that's a nice market to address. Then how is your product different? How's your solution different from what's already in the market? Is it 10 times better than the best product in the market now? Financials always important because VCs want to make returns. I think a lot of the focus is on recurring revenues. So if you're a software subscription business, then you can generate recurring revenues. That's measured by annual recurring revenues or monthly recurring revenues. VCs like growth, ARR growth rate. You want to see a doubling your revenue every year. Especially if your business is burning money, it's not profitable. Like you want to show like strong growth at least in revenues. Use of funds, like if you're asking for them for money, like you need to show them how you're going to use the money. Like is it going to use for product development, building up your team, hiring the right people, and you need to show that you have a solid management team to execute the growth. So you need to have a good team in place before you approach the VCs. It's quite important. Valuation tend to be it's not the standard discounted cash flow concept like you have for mature businesses. Like you wouldn't build a financial model and discount the cash flows and that's your valuation, because VC startups tend to be less predictable. So that model is unreliable. And in terms of the valuation, they probably look at multiples of revenues and comparables. So it's a bit of a benchmarking exercise to work out your valuation. Then the next topic is about entrepreneurs and what it is about. So I've got here some interesting pictures of instant noodles. I'm not talking about the product. I'm talking about, the spectrum of entrepreneurs. You could either be on the left or on the right. I guess the message is entrepreneurship is, can be over glorified. You see a lot of, you hear a lot of, Mark Zuckerberg stories, people making a lot, raising millions and billions of funding from, big VCs. Now, so I think it is not as easy as it looks on in the media. I guess in terms of my startup experience, I would consider myself as a cash flow business. So you have different types of startups again, like you have like kind of more traditional startups where it's a cash flow business. I'm exchanging my time for a fee, so I can actually still afford more than instant noodles for my meals. Especially if you're building a product for a startup, then expect a long haul. Like you're building a product and there's no revenues for a long time. So we call that the value of, and then you've got that valley of death period where you're just going through a lot to just, get to that point where you actually make it. So it is quite tough for a lot of startup founders. And you hear a lot about how many startups I don't have the real stats, but probably at least half the startups may not be around after the first 1 to 5 years. But if you can, then that's already a good achievement. And then a small percentage would make it to scale up to a big business, and then a very, very small percentage will become like a Canva, like $1 billion company or a unicorn. So you need grit, perseverance, and decisiveness. Ideas are not unique. It's easy to generate ideas, but execution is the key for a successful startup. Decisiveness, important because as a startup, there's not much not much data to make a decisions on. So you need to have a lot of strategic sense, make decisions on no data. I'd say you need a lot of luck, speed, and just focus on execution. When I say luck, luck is I guess it's not just, I guess, the rolling a dice type of luck. I believe that you can create your luck, but you need to be at the right place, right time, and meet the right people. And I guess you can say a bit of it as karma. You give, and you may get failure in return. But when you're giving, sometimes in terms of for example, if you're running a startup and you want to attract co-founders, it's easy to give away shares for that, but you also need to think about the skin in the game, because you give away shares to someone that often that someone would just sit on it and not do anything. So you need to look at commercial structures of how you give as well. Hustle, you need a lot of hustle. You need to have the right team, find your anchor clients, that they'll look after you. That's your cash flow, and find the right investor, and doing all that without too much resource. In terms of hustle, I think there's a lot of emphasis on getting VC funding as a sign of success. I don't think that is a sign of is the real sign of success. If I see a startup that is able to scale up, grow a business without any VC funding, that's a real sign of success. Like, they haven't had to dilute their their ownership that much by giving away shares in exchange for some funding. That's really that's they've really found a way to fund a business without expensive VC funding. It's important to attract good talent, and you can't do everything yourself, but some people are like gods, they can, but I can't. So anyway, I'll just push on. So in terms of IPO, touching on IPO, why IPO? You don't have to IPO. IPO is again, it's an extra layer of compliance, a lot of admin, a lot of scrutiny. When you become an IPO public company, like, you're very public. Like, everything that you do is disclosed. Annual report. You need to keep continuously disclose changes, things that are price sensitive to the markets. But this, by the way, this picture is a courtesy of Anna Vital. This is not my picture, but I think it gives a pretty good idea of the startup funding journey. So when you just have an idea, you try to find a bit of funding to grow, maybe test the idea. So you raise small fundings at the start, and then you may get some funding from family and friends who are not really that potentially not educated. So sometimes we call that family, friends, and fools stage of funding. So I guess that's a risky stage. The business is nowhere near, it's very early, and then you go through seed funding. And at every stage of the funding, you use it to scale your business, grow it bigger. So at the start of it, you're at just a co-founder stage. All the shares belong to yourself. So that's saying 100%. If you don't grow the business, if the business grows nowhere without the funding, then 100% of nothing is nothing. So if you have to, you bring in funding and you give away shares in a company. So at every stage, you give away more shares in a company. So at the time you reach an IPO, by the time you reach IPO, the founders have a much smaller share of the pie, because a lot of it is you get a lot of dilution. You're bringing a lot of investors. It's public, so the public is effectively investing into your business at IPO. But 17% of a big company is 17% of 2.6 billion, for example. So that's the reason why startups go through the funding stages, and that's if they have a rationale to grow. But if they have very clever means of funding the business, they don't have to give away as much in the company. I think that's about it.
Oh yeah, great, awesome. That was so amazing. Thanks so much, Andrew, for this such comprehensive and very realistic sharing from both VC perspective and startup founders perspective. And I really love, the part you mentioned about your transition in career journey from a corporate and to, a challenging environment and how you navigate it through. And I also appreciate the fact you actually show the audience here today about how to probably, value a startup. How is it different to value a mature, for investment bankers, for example. I'm sure there'll be more questions about that later on. And I also take a quick look at the participants here today. We actually have around half of the attendees. They're very experienced professionals already, in the professional world, management level, etc. So I have full confidence in our participants in understanding with those content. However, for the rest of you, just like me, still a student, if you're overwhelmed, don't worry. We will, if you have any questions later on, just feel free to express. I'm sure our speakers will give you a much more, simple explanation as well. Great. That's amazing. And I'll just quickly share the screen and great, awesome. So finally, now we're going to invite the third speaker. We're super honored to have Kennie join us tonight. So she's currently the program coordinator at the startup space. So it's actually powered by the State Victoria Library. I'm sure most of you have already visited the library. And previously, Kennie also holds a program coordinator role at the 11th space, so in charge of the incubation program, the entrepreneurial program, and also a marketing expert as well, with over 10 years experience. And currently, she's in charge of delivering the Future Founders program So it's Australia's dedicated year-long entrepreneur program aimed at international students in particular and budding entrepreneurs. It's also powered by the State Victoria Library and Study Melbourne. So I'm sure she will give you a closer look of its content and how students and also budding entrepreneurs can get better engaged. So yeah, off you go, Kennie.
Thank you so much, Nan, and thank you so much for the introduction. I'll just gonna take a second now to share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that. And thanks so much for organizing this event and for inviting me. I feel so privileged to be here tonight as part of the panel presentation. And thanks so much for Cissy and Andrew for sharing all of your wisdoms. I learned a lot from listening to you guys tonight. So for everyone else, as Nan mentioned before, my name is Kennie Kurniawan. I am the program coordinator at Start Space, which is part of the State Library Victoria. And I'll let you know a little bit more about that in a minute. But I will also try in my presentation to try to answer one of the questions that the committee put forward when they first reached out to me. And that question was, what does it take to be a startup founder and how do you actually start? So I'll be able to hopefully answer that question for you. And of course, hopefully answer some questions at the end. But before I do that, I'll just also would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where I'm presenting today in Maribyrnong, and that is the Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung, and the Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation. We would like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Now, a little bit about me before we start. I am a coordinator here at the library, and I deliver a program called Future Founders. More about that later. But like a lot of you here, I used to be an international student. I came from Indonesia, not from China, over 18 years ago now. I studied at the RMIT University and also did my master's at Melbourne University. But also I'm an entrepreneur. I have launched 3 separate businesses of my own, including one of my passion project, which was a travel agency I ran full-time for 5 years because of my passion in travel in my 20s. So that was really exciting time. I'm also a marketer, and I've got I've been lucky to work with lots of great brands, including Unilever, Jetstar, and Samsung. And more recently, I've been working in the startup community. I've been working in a few co-working spaces, business incubators, and also a mentor for early stage businesses. So I would really love to connect with you all here. And I've just popped in that link there to my LinkedIn. If you are passionate about entrepreneurship, I welcome you to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a little bit about me. And before I get into what Start Space is, I'd like to touch on about the State Library itself. And now when you hear of the State Library Victoria, these are probably the images that comes to mind. The one on the left is the lawn in front of the library on Swanston Street entry. And the one on the right is the Dome Reading Room. And of course, if you've studied in Melbourne or have been lucky enough to visit Melbourne at some point, the State Library is an iconic building. It was established back in 1854. It's very hard to miss because it's such a lovely building. But the dome here on the right is actually my personal favorite because as you can see, it is such a beautifully designed space. And much more than that though, I really love it because to me, it channels the core spirit of the State Library, which is a place where knowledge is accessible for all and it's for free. So yeah, in the same spirit, the State Library Victoria introduced Start Space in March 2020 as the first co-working space and a business support service of its kind in Victoria that provides knowledge, support, and networks for free, for all, for anyone who has a business idea, but not yet ready to enter to the startup world. So as you can see here, in the picture, it is the Ideas Quarter, where Start Space is located within the library. We're obviously at the moment, closed because of the lockdown, but previous to the lockdown, we always have lots of events like this, where we would host events that is relevant to those, aspiring entrepreneurs, networking events, and also lots of places where they can learn specific skills that will help them start a business. So membership to the space is free, but application is required. So if you know anyone who is in Melbourne and can benefit from this, please let them know that they can get access to this free space. So I guess that also leads me to the question that I mentioned at the start, which is, what does it take to be a startup founder, and how do you start? To me, the answer is anyone can be a founder. Anyone can start a business. In this day and age, starting a business is not restricted to only a select few who have the funds and the connection. So as long as you can identify a problem or a need for a specific market and have some ideas how you can solve it, then you can really take that very early idea and develop it into a business. Of course, as Andrew already mentioned as well, it takes a lot of persevering, lots of hustling, lots of working really hard, and of course, taking a lot of inputs from a lot of people along the way. But again, anyone nowadays can really start a business as long as you really work hard for it. Also, by utilizing support services such as Start Space, you can get access to the experts and the mentors that you need to learn from, and also get access to fellow aspiring entrepreneurs, people who, like you, are still building their business. So it's very important to be in the right community when you start your business. It's important to learn the skills and tools to build your business. So make sure make sure you have that type of community. So even if you're not in Melbourne right now, or you're overseas, maybe in China right now, all you need to do is do a quick search in the internet, and I'm sure you can find similar services or a local incubator program or co-working spaces such as Start Space. In case you're not familiar of what an incubator program is, it is basically a program designed to help get you started, teaches you relevant business concepts, giving you the right tools, and most importantly, introduce you to the right people, the right community, and having that community that meet regularly. And again, that is very important when you first start your business. When you're ready, you can graduate from an incubator program to maybe an accelerator program, which is designed more to help entrepreneurs to scale their business. And again, in this early stage of the process, it is very important to get the right support, and because you might not know how to, for example, get the funds for your business. Those are some of the things that you can get from a community like Start Space, but also from business incubator programs. So they will teach you, how to best fund your business from, again, as Andrew mentioned before, getting maybe friends or families to support, or angel investors, or maybe grants from the government is also a good source of fund. And, even bank loans, or even if you're ready to get it from VCs like Andrew. But a lot of programs will teach you how to pitch and how to build that connection and get your feet on the door to speak to someone like Andrew. And since I'm speaking today to former international students, I also would like to specifically mention a program called the Future Founders Program, which is a year-long program dedicated specifically to current and former international students in Victoria who would like to develop their business idea. So it is a very exciting program. It's a free program thanks to State Library Victoria and Study Melbourne. So let's watch this clip to get a peek of what it is about.
if you have a business idea and you don't know where to start, the best thing you can do is start talking to people. I know it might feel like you've got something really special and a precious idea that you want to keep to yourself, but actually, ideas are dime a dozen. What really matters is execution, and being able to get out there and talking to people will help you sort of refine that idea and get into something that can then grow and scale as a business.
I think by joining a community like Future Founders and joining the roadshows and the boot camps and the festivals, you're not just giving yourself an opportunity to grow, but you're giving yourself the opportunity for connections and impact to take place. You'll be surprised to discover how much you can learn from other people of international student backgrounds or also local community who will be a part of the program.
This is going to test you beyond building a business. This is going to test you personally and professionally, both equally. It's going to be an adventure and it's going to be a roller coaster ride. So hang in there and hold on tight.
Just get involved, attend an event, dial in from online if that's more comfortable for you or that's what you're able to do, and just get immersed and learn and listen and find out more, and then apply that to your idea and see where that can go. Just make a start.
Yeah, hopefully that video gives you a little bit of an idea of what the Future Founders look like. And it's a year-long program and we're halfway through the year. So the next on the agenda is the boot camps and the scholarship. So the boot camps itself will host 2 cohorts of 15 participants to help teach them the valuable skills to build a business. And a scholarship actually available for 8 ventures, which will receive 10K each. $10,000 Australian dollars each towards developing their business. So if you know someone who's a current or former international student from a big institution, please take this amazing opportunity designed for people just like you. And I've got a QR code for you to scan if you want to know more about this program. I just also want to mention quickly about Jill Tang, which is one of the keynote speaker at our festival in July. And she's actually from China and she studied in Melbourne. And in an interview, she spoke about how, there's lots of challenges in terms of starting her own business after she went back to China at the end of her studies. So again, if you want to watch that, just scan that QR code. I'm sure we all know how to do that now. We're experts on QR codes now. And yeah, maybe watch it and hopefully you get inspired to start your own business. And this is my last slide before I finish up. I just wanted to end with these words from Daniel Tan, which is an international student founder. He's actually a good friend of mine. He graduated a couple of years ago and he has started his second business now. And he was the pitch winner at the festival, and he actually said that he feels like the program really empowers him and his team to determine their own future. So not leaving it to companies, not leaving it to your parents. This is your opportunity to make something of yourself. So that really resonates to me as a former international student myself. I remember when graduating university, I felt like there were only 2 options for my career. So the first option in my mind was, okay, I could go back to Indonesia and maybe start a business there. And, some of my friends, they took over their family business, so I'm sure that's very familiar to a lot of us here. And the second pathway that I thought of was to stay in Melbourne and work for a company here. So at no stage did I ever wondered or even considered that there was another pathway, which is to start a business here in Australia. And I understand for many international students and many migrants, these might seem to be more of an impossible pathway. And of course, the topic of visa and permanent residency ties a lot with this, and I'm not an expert on that, so please don't ask me questions about that. But as you can see here already, Andrew and Cissy is a great example of those who start their own business and they are successful. So the bottom line here, be aware and explore this pathway and understand that there are resources available in the community. and government, such as Start Space, that is created to help to get you started. So please don't be afraid to start. And at the end, just start. Don't wait around or get stuck in overthinking. Just give it a start. And I think that's all from me. And yeah, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and that's our website as well. So thank you. That's all from me.
Thanks so much, Kennie. Thanks so much for this heartfelt sharing. And also personally, as international students, I definitely understand you mentioned about the last part. And I've also heard from some of my senior friends who are international students currently and trying to, figure out their way, starting the vision they really want for a startup. So yeah, and it's so great to know that we have the resources for, diverse groups of people like international students and also mature business owners, etc. So yeah, it's so awesome. I would like to invite everybody to give a virtual round of applause to our streaming speakers tonight. Just thanks so much for your volunteering spirit and for this event and also beyond your career, time to contribute back to the society. So we really appreciate that. Just due to the limited time, and now I will directly just open to the floor to give our participants more opportunities to ask questions and engage our speaker. So yeah, I would love to encourage everybody to turn on your video, and if you wanted to ask the questions, just feel free to take over the mic. I'll just mute myself now. So here you go. The floor is yours.
Okay, hi Nan. Hi everyone. My name is Leo, and I do have a question because I recently, not recently, but I had an idea, and I want to start a social enterprise kind of startup. I'm based in Melbourne. Because I feel like to find a team member or whoever want to be part of your journey is very hard, especially if you're running a non-for-profit. I'm just wondering where we can have that platform and place to we can meet or maybe find our potential partner for the business. My question is to anyone who wants to answer. Sorry.
I do know there is a platform actually helping social entrepreneurs or for good businesses match with their employment requirements or startup requirements. But I just can't remember the name. Let me find out, and I will send it to Nan so that she can share. Oh, unless Andrew, you know the name.
Sorry, I was waving at someone. No, I don't.
No worries, Leo. Thanks for your question. We'll definitely follow it up later in your group chat as well. Just for your information, we also have a WeChat community chat for this event particularly. So if you're interested, feel free to add me on WeChat and I'll add you in as well. Okay. Does anyone else have more questions? I've seen a lot of questions, in the registration forms about how to start a startup and what's the best approach and what are the legal support examples, so on and so forth, and what's the most challenging part. I'm sure, most of you also had that question. So if maybe our speakers can touch on about that.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I would like to ask a bit of questions about starting any entrepreneurship. How much experience do you guys say you need to be in certain field? At the moment, I'm in the final year of the IT. So any ideas about that? If you guys have anything important to notch out?
Maybe I'll start and I'll pass it on to everyone. But as Kennie was saying, anyone can start at any time, and I agree with that. I know quite a few people that are, one of the boys that not boys, but young men that I know, he is 15 and he's already started, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's already, this is his third business that he started. And, he's one of those, I think, 17 under 17 or something. Australian actually has a 17 under 17 so he has still quite a few years before he finishes after the 17 under 17. So the other thing I mentioned that I'm part of the Enactus, which I think I should probably find the website for that, but Enactus is basically helping university students become entrepreneurs as well. So if you search out the Enactus organization, you'll be able to find one out of, if you're from Melbourne, a Melbourne University or something, they're in 35 countries. So there's a lot of schools and that is part of that. So there's a lot of support in that respect. Okay.
If I may add, Jasminder, so entrepreneurship is about having no rules. Like you make it by making it happen. So there's no real rule of how old you need to be or how experienced you need to be. But it's about being resourceful. So if you're not experienced in something, you learn. You learn it. If you can't build something, you'll learn how to build it. The alternative is if you don't know how to do it, you surround yourself with people that know how to do it.
Yeah, thanks for your answer. I would say most of the time, if anyone is going to start a business, then most of the time the fear is about losing the funds or whatever. So how to overcome that fear? Like you have told about some VCs and budget or all kind of things. So how will anyone can come out of this fear and start a bit with that?
Yep. I might try to answer that, Jaswinda, because also you mentioned that you are studying at a university. So actually lots of universities today have startup ideation or startup accelerator programs. So these are a really great place to start as well. Because they are often free, and you can some universities like Deakin allows you to do it as part of your study. So as one of the one of the courses you do in your study, and it is a place where you can learn some tools that will help you minimize that risk that you were just saying before about risking losing money when you're starting your business. There are a lot of great business concepts and they will teach you so that you know how to start your business without putting yourself in too much risk financially. So I think in terms of losing that fear, there might always be there, fear is always going to be there in the background, but what you can do is to minimize it by doing doing research, finding information, finding data, so that when you make a decision, it is based on real data and not something that you just do out of your gut instinct. So when that becomes the case, a lot of the times you worry if you're making the right decision, right? But if you've got data that can support your decision making, then you can be a little bit less afraid when you make decisions. So I guess that would be my answer. Hopefully that helps.
Thanks everyone.
If I could add a little bit as well, I think in terms of if you were thinking about starting a business and if you don't have a revenue source elsewhere, perhaps if you wanted to keep it a bit low risk, is to find a job and at the same time while you're working full time for the job, use all the weekends and nights to work on your social enterprise. And, you know, kind of like the side gig, you know, side gig happens a lot. My daughter has also, she's got her own enterprise education technology that she's built up alongside her, you know, business that she, you know, for her as an employee. So I think that a lot of people does that in terms of so that you can be supported. You know, you don't have, if you quit a job and go straight into just doing a social enterprise or a startup, there is a big risk because you still have to feed yourself, right? And in a lot of times, the startup field, the first, you know, couple of years, you might not have a good salary. So that's the reality. So you need to be conscious of, you know, how you actually get how to actually get your day-to-day, you know, money, and then at the same time working on your passion. So, and you know, someone was asking me, well, when do I know that it's a good time for me to actually convert into full-time working on my passion? My coach, you know, told me basically that, okay, if you're, you know, if your a side gig is actually returning you about 70% of your full-time job, then it's time to quit. I don't know, which, you know, that's the idea anyway. So yeah, hope that helps.
I second that, Cissy. So I started Headstone while I was working full time. So I was doing Headstone part time for 2 years before, you know, that, you know, the Headstone income can replace some of my salary. I'll say like a small part of my salary, and then I moved full time into Headstone.
Thanks for your ideas.
Thanks so much. Due to limited time, we might just gonna move to Xinrui for the next question. And unfortunately, we can only take these 2 questions for this event tonight. But yeah, thanks so much for your time and effort in delaying this event. So yeah, great. Off you go, Xinrui.
So
okay, actually, sorry.
You go first.
Oh, thanks. Actually, hey everyone, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Actually, my question is quite general. So in your career, actually this question is specific for Andrew. So who or what kinds of things actually pulled the trigger from your career path to shift from your full-time employee to an entrepreneur? And what might be the biggest bottlenecks you ever met in your career?
Okay, so biggest trigger for moving into full-time to Headstone, you know, securing I guess you know, business investor and partner, and also an anchor client, you know, helped me make the choice to move full-time into Headstone. And give up a corporate career. So yeah, I'm still a risk-averse person, and you know, that's for me, that was the reason. In terms of the biggest bottleneck, was probably around. There's probably lots of bottlenecks.
Sure.
I think the hardest bit was yeah, thinking that, you know, after work, I have to be a quiet worker, and work long hours and just listen, and you know, I guess the ant worker mentality was probably a big setback for me at the start.
Yeah, cool. Sure, that's true. Sorry. Nan, actually, I really want to say a word about social enterprise. So I suppose if Leo is quite interested in social enterprise and how to get all those resources and connections, maybe he could just search the website of several Chinese social enterprises back in China and at least in Northern Hemisphere, because social enterprise is not a brand new word. It's just like a buzzword nowadays, and you can actually apply for lots of resources and connections, especially funds from the United Nations. And from my perspective, actually, you could possibly try to apply for several funds from IAF back in the US, and maybe lots of funds from incubators back in the US, North America, as well as Latin America, because one of the projects I ever worked on is very much associated with this. So just to have a try. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Thank you.
Tina, for sharing. I'm sure it's very insightful for our participants. And now we're going to move to Nancy because she hands up a bit earlier. So yeah, up you go, Nancy.
Oh, great. Cool. I didn't realize I had a chance to ask a question, but thank you for your time. Yeah, I guess my question is more targeted towards just venture capital. I'm wondering for since like smaller scale businesses, there's less cash flow records, and just like we can't really use those general methods to predict, well, to value the risk and the current like value how much the company is worth. So what are some of the quantitative methods that we could essentially use to value the risk and yeah, like just the net worth of a company?
So multiples is very commonly used. So to start with is revenue multiples. So if you are actually a startup, a very early stage startup, looking at what's your annual recurring revenue. I've actually put some comments in the chat as well. In that respect, that typically, when you look at a very large scale transaction, you work out what is the discounted cash flow analysis and what's the DCF or net present value of the business. But in a startup field, all those are hockey stick, blue sky type scenarios. And if you look at historical numbers, that's not going to actually tell you what is the future is going to look like. So a lot of times people just look at, what is the revenue multiple, how much revenue you've got. But even earlier than that, there are some valuation methods that you can actually search. There's, quite a few, like 7 or 8 different types of valuation methods for really early stage startups. But ultimately, you compare that with what other typical companies are out there, like if you're looking at an education technology, look at what other ed techs are being sold or being invested in at the moment. And there's quite a few different facilities that you can use, like Crunchbase, like PitchBooks and stuff like that. You can find some information on. And Startup Daily or whatever, all of those information sources you can find. I'm sure Kennie have all that in her startup. What is the start space, right? All right, over to you.
To me, sorry, I was waiting for Andrew to say something. Obviously, Nancy, there are lots of things you need to learn if you're starting your startup for the first time, and that's where places like Start Space and other incubator programs will be really helpful because they actually teach you, from very base knowledge to a little bit more expert level, I guess, and things like basically to me what's important for a startup in the early stage is the potential, right? I think Andrew mentioned earlier about TAM, the total addressable market, how big are your market size, like who are these people that need your services, and that's where the opportunity comes from. Investors, they salivate when they hear about really big TAMs, and from then on, what kind of service is it, a sustainable business model, and that's again in a program you'll learn about what is the business model, what kind of business models will be suitable for your business, how can you make sure it is repeatable and you can grow your business, and things like lifetime value, like how do you make sure that every customer that you acquire, have a long value to your business, and things like that. So it's not necessarily profit from day one, obviously, for startups, because a lot of startups don't make money in their, even in the second year. But once they find that point, I think Cissy mentioned before about the hockey stick. Once they find that sweet spot where they learn about what's the best business model for them, then from then on, they will see income, and they will see their revenue actually grow exponentially. So it is a very long answer. Hopefully that helps you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I'm very sorry, but we have gone a bit over time for this event. I just want to say great appreciation to our speakers and also for our participants for staying. And, we hope this session has been, helpful and encouraging. And we're more than welcome you to, follow up with additional questions in our community chat, or, if you have any feedback or suggestions for future topics, feel free to reach out to me on WeChat or emails, etc. And now, if you allow me, I'll just share the screen to officially wrap up with the event tonight. So as I mentioned earlier about ACA, we celebrate alumni's achievements. Our goal is to help alumni connect and empower each other. You're most welcome to sign up as a member. And moving on, we also have the Alumni Awards celebration ceremony coming up. Although the offline nominations has been closed for this year, but we encourage you to, nominate yourself or someone who might have, fall into this categories who are qualified to, to be celebrated. Yeah, it'd be amazing. So as you can see, we have several categories, Alumni of the Year, and we also celebrate Young Alumni as well. And additionally, this year we have an award for international students too, and for community impact. So it's very important for us to celebrate a diverse group as well, thanks to our sponsors, Gannon Foundation, and our previous sponsors. So if you're interested in engage with ACA in the future for partnership or sponsors, you're most welcome to reach out me too as well. And yeah, so here are the quick look of our social media reach. So we have covered in both China and Australia social Western social medias, and also the Chinese ones on WeChat, Weibo, LinkedIn newsletter, and Instagram and Facebook as well. And previously, we will also run successful mentorship program, and those mentors are very high profile as well in helping out our mentees who are the current international students too. And yeah, feel free to follow us on all the social media platforms and engage with our professionals, mentors, and alumni. And we just wanted to thank you again for your participation, and a great appreciation to our speakers again, just for your volunteering spirit. And we also hope you enjoy the session by contributing back to the society. So thanks so much. And yeah, hope to see you again next month for the ongoing Diversity and Empower series. Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Nan.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Nan. Great session. And yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you later.
Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great night, everyone.